the House just passed a bill that some say is a big win for road safety. Others say, are we really changing what excessive speeding is and why? That's what's trending, brought to you by Legacy Group Capital Common Sense Lending.
What's trending on the road?
Now, I suppose you will respond to this based upon your own personal driving habits. There is no doubt whatsoever that driving in Washington state has become more dangerous, or at least the drivers have become more dangerous. We've seen an increase in accidents, in fatalities due to crashes. And a lot of this, as much as I normally don't like to just go ahead and blame COVID for everything, this one actually is, I think, in large part, COVID influenced, in that a whole bunch of people were staying home except for some of us. And if there's no one on the road, and you know there's not going to be anyone on the road, and you're the only one on the road, you know what you have a tendency to do? Speed. Go really, 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 really fast. But then once you get used to that, sometimes what happens is people start to drive again. But you got in love with the idea of being that speed demon. And so you get a little frustrated with the people around you. And then more people get around you and you get more frustrated. And it causes all sorts of messes. And as a result, you start to see some pretty unsafe behavior. And you get into an accident. And if you get injured in one, by the way, you go with Harold Carr Attorney, wonderful sponsor, CARR, HaroldCarrattorney.com. But House Bill 1596 passed with bipartisan support. There were only 12 people who voted against it. And originally, the bill defined excessive speeding as driving 20 miles per hour or more over whatever the speed limit is. Regardless of what the speed limit was, if under the original bill, 20 miles plus over that is excessive speeding. But now they changed it to a different two-tiered threshold. Under the law, it says for roads with a posted speed limit of 40 miles per hour or less, excessive speeding is now defined as going 10 miles or more over the limit. And for roads with a posted speed limit above 40 miles per hour, the threshold is 20 miles per hour or more over the speed limit. And I think that's where I start to question it just a little bit. Just a little bit. Now, the bill's sponsor doesn't. Mary Leavitt, the Democrat.
The reality, Mr. Speaker, is that 250 Washingtonians died just last year. 1/3 of crashes and injuries in Washington state are caused by excessive speeding. Families are losing loved ones. Parents are losing children. Children are losing their parents.
Dan Griffey, the state representative, Republican from Allen, points out kind of the obvious here.
In Washington state, it seems like after COVID, a certain percentage of the population forgot how to drive, and our highway fatalities have skyrocketed.
Now, the reason why this matters is an excessive speeding violation could lead to different kinds of punishments should you get ticketed for this, X amount of times. And it has real life implications. I don't know if I'm on the 20 miles over on the road, 10 miles over on the road bandwagon here. That's the only one that I'm a little skeptical of, because if it really is when no one is around, I'm not going to pretend that the danger still exists to the same extent as it otherwise would. Now, I know that the response to that, and it's a fair response, which is, how do you know who's there? You might not see someone, and they could be there at any point. It's also about pedestrians. I get that. I do. Yeah, but I still don't like it. How about that? Because the reality is we all have habits when we drive. We all, assuming we're doing so generally safely, there are lots of other countries that have very high speed limits. Germany is one of them. And they seem to be able to do it. It's not necessarily the speeder who's always at fault in an accident, because there's also a point where, and this comes to some of the subjectivity of the law of, are you driving in a way that is dangerous for the context in which you're driving? It can be dangerous to drive the speed limit when it's hailing softball size, ice I guess I can't say hail. I can't say hailing hail, but you get my point, right? If it's coming down hard and no one can see and everyone's slow and you're the one who's speeding around, but you're still going the speed limit, that's also dangerous. And you can be cited for that. But overall, this seems like something needs to be done because there is clearly a problem. And for those of you who are worried, here's the good news for you speed demons, as I'm sorry to say. We don't have enough Washington State Patrol troopers out there anyway. They're not going to stop you, unfortunately.
Get a radar detector.
Well, yeah, they do say part of this bill puts new technology out there called intelligent speed assistance devices. And they use GPS technology to monitor a vehicle's speed and can prevent the driver from exceeding the posted speed limit. This is a horrible idea. Because what if someone's chasing you? That's the only thing I can think of when I hear there's going to be a device that stops you from speed. What if you legitimately need to speed?
You're rushing your pregnant wife to the hospital.
Well, then not even that. I'm saying, what if your life depends on speeding? What if you happen to be on a freeway, everyone else who doesn't have this device is speeding, and it's now dangerous for you not to speed? Mm-hmm. Or you can clearly tell on a freeway someone's behind you on, I-90. They're still far, but they're coming up fast, man. And what happens if you make the wrong choice in good faith? Let's say you're on what's the highway to get to Spokane? The one way. There's only one lane either direction where you're going through the middle of nowhere.
I don't know.
Yeah, whatever that one was. Because I when I was driving to the Tri-City area for a speech, there's a good stretch of highway that's just one way each. And sometimes you get stuck behind a truck. And you're going to have to do I'm going to speed around and that's allowed. But what happens if you miscalculate the oncoming traffic and you have to speed up a little bit to get over because it doesn't make sense to slow down and then get back? Like, what about circumstances like that? That does happen. And even if you made the wrong decision, ultimately maybe you would get a ticket for trying to do that, you still want to prevent the accident. And you're slamming on your gas and it's not going more than 60 when if you went just 67 miles an hour, you would be able to make that. Just sounds kind of dangerous to me. I hate this technology. Don't introduce it. They say for drivers convicted of reckless driving or those who have accumulated a certain number of speeding violations, the devices would become mandatory during a probationary period following their license suspension to help ensure they comply with speed limits. But if they don't, you on the other side of the road might end up getting hit as a result of something like this.
I think in California, 20 miles per hour over is like the minimum.
Well, if it's overnight. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just stuck in traffic. You're not going fast anyway.
Yeah.
Let's find out what else is trending.